What if your life did not begin with your first breath, but long before the world itself existed? Not as a body, not as a name, but as something lighter, quieter, eternal. Imagine for a moment that you existed as pure awareness, no weight, no limits, no boundaries, just presence. Pause here just briefly. What would that feel like? It is narrated from Jafar Al-Sadiq that long before creation, Allah brought certain beings into existence not in physical form but as spirits. They existed around the divine presence, in a state of constant praise, not because they were told to, but because that was their nature. And what is even more profound is that the heavens themselves echoed that praise, as if existence in its earliest form was harmony. Think about that for a moment, a reality where everything is aligned, where every being moves in remembrance. Why would praise exist before anything else? Then came a transition, a descent, and like any other, those same spirits were brought into bodies from something vast and unrestricted, into something limited, defined, and fragile. And yet something remained. The same praise that once echoed in the heavens now began to echo through the earth, through human voices, through whispered prayers, through hearts that remember something they cannot fully explain. Have you ever felt that? A sense that something inside you recognizes truth, even before you understand it? Among these souls there were those given a unique distinction. It is said that Allah created certain individuals from His light, pure, refined, and free from spiritual corruption. Among them is Muhammad, along with Ali ibn Abi Talib, and those who follow their path with sincerity. These are described as purified spirits, untouched by the illnesses that affect the soul. But what does that mean for us? It suggests that the soul at its core is not meant for darkness. It is meant for clarity, for truth, for light. So the question becomes, how much of that original light do we still carry? The body then is not the beginning of our story. It is a stage, a test, a temporary container for something far greater. Within this body, different forces begin to shape our experience. There is strength, the ability to act and endure. There is desire, the pull toward what we want. And there is life, the energy that keeps us present. But these alone do not define us. There is something else, something higher, that must enter. At the moment of birth, something remarkable happens. A new spirit, described as a light from Allah, enters the body, and the child cries. We often assume that this cry is simply physical, a reaction to the shock of entering the world. But what if it is something deeper? It is said that the soul, having come from a place of nearness and peace, recognizes the body as a kind of confinement, a limitation, a separation from what it once knew, and so it grieves just for a moment. Imagine that transition from vastness into restriction, from clarity into confusion. What would you feel? As life continues, something interesting unfolds. The soul begins a journey not of learning something entirely new, but of remembering truth, remembering purpose, remembering its origin. And yet this process is not always easy. The world presents distractions, challenges, moments of doubt, and through all of this, the soul is being tested. Will it return to what it knows deep within? Or will it become lost in the surface of things? Take a second to reflect. What do you feel your life is trying to teach you right now? It is said that if a person completes this journey, if they endure their trials and come to true understanding, then the soul is released in a state of fulfillment. But if something remains incomplete, the journey continues until that knowing is made whole. This is not about punishment, it is about completion, about becoming what you were always meant to be, and beyond this life. The description of the soul changes once again. The souls of believers are described as free, no longer confined by the tightness of the body. They move. They recognize one another. They exist in a state that resembles their true nature, light, subtle, unrestricted. It is said that they gather, communicate, and dwell in peace, returning to a place of nearness to the divine, a place that feels familiar. There is also a profound idea here that not everything can recognize everything else. The dense cannot perceive the subtle, and the subtle does not belong to the dense. In other words, the more we are attached to only the physical, the harder it becomes to perceive what is beyond it. But the more we refine ourselves through awareness, sincerity, and truth, the closer we come to recognizing that deeper reality. So where does that leave us? Somewhere between two worlds, partly physical, partly spiritual, carrying within us something ancient, something that existed before time as we know it, and perhaps the purpose of life is not just to live, but to remember, closing slow, soft tone if you sit quietly for a moment, beyond the noise, beyond the distractions. You might begin to sense it, a familiarity you cannot explain, a pull towards something higher, a memory without words, and maybe, just maybe, that is the echo of where you began. Final reflection, prompt on screen or spoken. Do you see your life differently now? What if this is not your first moment, but part of a much longer journey?